Were you a fan of Ronald Reagan?
Yes, I was.
Same.
Yeah, I was. I voted for Ronald Reagan first election. In fact, I voted for Ronald Reagan, and I came home, and I had a roommate at the time who was a friend from Texas, and he said, "Who'd you vote for?" And I said, "Reagan." And he said, "You are kicked out of the hippies." so that was it. I was kicked out of the hippies.
Oh, yeah. So sad.
Yeah, he's my favorite president. And then when they asked me to play him, that was one of those times where that shiver of fear goes up your spine, and because I feel unworthy, and it's kind of really exposed because everybody knows Reagan.
Yes.
And so it took me quite a while to say yes to it, in fact, and but I finally did, because I was invited to go up to his ranch, the Western White House, which is way up on top of a mountain, above Santa Barbara. And you drive up the 5 miles of the worst road you ever were on and get up to the top of this place, and you go through the gate and come out to the clearing, and I realized that Reagan was a humble man, very humble man. He wasn't a rich man.
Really?
This property is not a rich person's property. Mm-hmm. It's not. And the house was about like 1,300 square feet, and this is where he and Nancy lived. This was his place. House was like 1,300 square feet. They had a king size bed, but it was 2 single beds that were zip tied together.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, and their clothes were in the closet, like they were just about to come back. There was not a place that was open to the public. And,
you mean even after he was an actor and after he was governor?
He was never a rich. He wasn't a rich guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
he probably made a lot of other people very rich, but he was, he was who he was, and I could really feel him up there at the ranch, and that's what kind of turned me, that I felt like I could maybe do this, or was very intrigued to do it.
Is it really hard to do, I know you did Great Balls of Fire, and oh my God.
Doing Real People, you mean?
Yeah, Doing Real People, is that?
Yeah, well, yeah, Jerry Lee, he was actually over my shoulder the entire time we were doing
Is that
Great
dude
Balls
crazy?
of Fire. He was one of my piano teachers, and he was over my shoulder going, "You get it wrong, son," half the time. But
did that make you mad, or was it helpful?
He made me feel everything. He was the greatest. He'd be so generous, and then he could be like a 14-year-old schoolyard bully.
Right.
But he was, he was, man, there'll never be another one like him.
No.
And that's one of the reasons why I say my lucky life, because who gets to do that?
Right.
And also do it when you're in Memphis, and we're in Sun Studios every night rehearsing with Jerry's original band.
That's just
Roland James and JW and all those guys, and Jack Clement, who was the engineer at Sun Studios, who I'd known since the night the lights went on in Georgia, actually, and that was a whole thing. But Reagan was kind of like the same way, playing somebody. It's daunting, because you don't want to do an impersonation of them.
Right.
You want to.
Because as you said, acting is just being yourself.
Yeah.
But then when you're playing Ronald Reagan, you can't just be
Well, you have to be. It's like what you have to, because you are you. But it's really about capturing the essence of somebody and playing them shaky. From their point of view.
His voice was a little shaky. Did you shake your voice?
He went through. I played him from the time he was 35 till
death.
Till he said goodbye with with his letter about Alzheimer's. And his at the beginning, his voice was as an actor, he was way up, very high, because we all have that.
Yeah.
slowly goes down to, well, that towards the end of the presidency, where you slow down a little bit.
I have chills.
And your voice gets a little lower and stuff. But
I have chills.
That's just the outside stuff. You know, it means a lot to you to like look and sound like him, but it's capturing him. And with him, it was like, it's really one of the toughest roles ever, because there's all kinds of videotape of everything about Reagan and the like, and you know, met so many people that knew him so well and stuff. Mm-hmm. And but in the end, he's kind of a person that was, in a way, unknowable. He's the great communicator, and everybody feels like they know him, but it's personally, there's a
wall.
You come up to a wall that may or may not be intentional or whatever, but there's this private space there that I think only Nancy really knew.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I loved him. I mean,
yeah, it's just what he represented, you know,
is the movie,
the time that he came along for America. It was important.
Very important. Yeah. I mean, he was our most important president ever, I think.
I agree with you.
Yeah. And truly loved our country, truly cared about the people.
He was, what he was, I think, to people, the whole country, he was everybody's dad, for good or bad. I mean, because he was getting, people forget. I mean, it was always being accused. He was a warmonger. He was going to get us, you know, into a war. He was going to ruin the economy. He was going to, you know, it was always that. So I guess he was hated as much as he was loved too. You know, according to family relationships. You know, he's your dad for better or worse.
I was just going to tell you the story real quick, just about Reagan, but Brad Paisley and I were asked to write a song for the Passion of the Christ, and they were going to make an album with original songs based on that movie. Mm-hmm. So Brad and I wrote this song called New Again. I was pregnant with Audrey, and it was the day of Ronald Reagan's funeral.
Oh, really?
So we watched the funeral and we both cried because it was just so, I was so sad about his death. And so we watched the whole funeral. We both cried. We were very emotional. And then we wrote this song about a duet between Mary and Jesus, where, you know, Mary's talking to Jesus and basically saying, why do you have to do this? And like asking God, like, why do you have to use my son? And then Jesus is saying, like in the Bible, when he said, get away from me, woman, because this is God's will. Right. You know, so don't try to stop it or whatever. But that's just a little fun side story. He's remembered more softly than I think, than when he was president. You know, it's less criticized because, and that says a lot. That says a lot to his legacy. Yes. Yeah. So, were you any kind of a co-producer or anything with the movie, or you just starred in it? Yes. You know, I have a producer's credit on it, but I only asked that because, you know, I was really concerned with, you know, Reagan. Yeah. Rather than actively doing what a producer does. I only asked it because I was just wondering if you felt at the end of the movie that Reagan was portrayed properly. I hope so. I mean, for me, I got a lot out of it, you know, and I always feel like you never do enough or whatever, but it was really, in fact, that's what I love about acting the most, you know, is that I get to live and know what it's like to be all these other kinds of lives, whether it be an astronaut or like, or Doc Holliday or Jerry Lee Lewis or Ronald Reagan, and kind of like step in their shoes and figure out making
figuring out what made them tick. It's really interesting, the human nature and telling their stories. And so I feel a real responsibility in telling somebody's story, because especially when they're real people, because I don't know if somebody was doing a movie about my life that, I'd want them to try to get it right or do it from my point of view.
Or represent you in the way that you truly were.
At least honestly,
honestly.
Authentically. But,
right. I think that's where I was going with that. Like Hollywood, I just didn't know if they tried to make him look like...
No, this movie, Reagan's not made by Hollywood.
Okay.
Hollywood would never make
that's what
the
I was
movie Reagan.
Right. That's what I was asking before.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's like independent. It's very independent.
Great. And when does it come out?
It comes out this year.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too. It's been like 3 years since we made it.
Can I come over and sit on your couch with you and Laura and watch it?
Well, or you can come to the theater. How about that?
I will do that too, but I also want to watch it with you.
I think we're going to hopefully do a premiere right here in Nashville.
Please invite me.
Yeah.
Of course. So love to come.